You're listening to the 7-Figure Leap podcast. We're here to leverage rich relationships and smart strategies to take your business to the next level. Here's your host, Dustin Rieckman.
Talk a little more about the work you do now and how we can benefit from the kind of the best parts of Montessori as it pertains particularly to our business. So maybe talk a little more about, what is concentration coaching and what does it do for people? And then how do you actually apply this with your clients?
So I have a few different areas of work that I focus on. One of them is the actual brain training of the concentration. So rewinding a little bit, back in 2013, when I was already homeschooling, one of my children was having a hard time reading. She was 9 at the time. And we actually pulled her out of our Montessori school, several years prior because it just wasn't getting better. And it was hard. It was really difficult to think about what are the, societal community ripple effects of if founders of a school pull their own child out of the school.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so it was a lot of consideration, but in the end, we were determined to do what was right for our daughter. Pulled her out. I started diving into all these different programs to help her. But one that I came across was a music program that actually uses, it's science-based music where they acoustically modified the different frequencies so that they pass them through filters so that we're isolating a certain band of frequencies at different parts of the music program in order to stimulate different parts of the brain.
Oh, wow.
So the way that music can help us therapeutically is, and get a little sciencey here on you. In high school biology, we study about, the cochlea, the little spiral shaped part of the inner ear that has hair cells in it, and different parts and the different hairs in the areas are stimulated by different frequencies. Those signals are transmitted to different parts of the brain.
Yeah.
And so we can focus on stress release, creativity, academic performance, decision making, all these different areas. And so living where we did in Wyoming, and this was long before virtual things were going on, there were no certified providers within hundreds of miles that could do this for our daughter. So I became one. And my intent was always only to do it for our family. But I went through the training, I became certified, we used it for her, and our success was so thrilling. So as I mentioned, she was 9, not learning how to read. By the end of her 8th grade, so spring of 8th grade, she took a standardized test and she scored post-high school in all of the reading and comprehension and spelling sections on the test. And I was just blown away. I cried when I saw the results because I was so grateful to God and just so moved by the power of something so simple. Yeah. Music is something that we take for granted and it's kind of always in the background and we don't really, most people don't understand that it actually can be used therapeutically in a very, very effective way.
Yeah. And we're going to little sneak peek as we move towards the last part of the interview here pretty soon. Regina is going to give us some more specific insights on that and actually give us a resource so that you can use music and different types of music, different frequencies to aid you in your concentration, creativity, some of the things that she was able to do for her daughter as a pioneer, as the theme of the interview here. She now is able to bring to bear and help people with as adults and as, again, entrepreneurs and executives using music. So music's a big part of this. We've talked a lot about the Montessori, influence on you and some of the methods that you've carried forward into your work. So if someone comes to you, maybe this is how I'd like to frame this. So when should someone come to Regina to get help? So they're running a business and they're just like, man, I can't get anything done. I feel like I'm scattered. I'm not productive. Is it those types of things? What are some of the symptoms, I guess, that would be improved with the types of methods that you're able to bring to bear for people?
So let's get a little bit left-brained here with some stats. There was a study done. Yeah, you're an engineer. There was a study done by Microsoft, which was rare at the time because they actually did it they call it institute. Might be pronouncing that wrong, but it took them 6 years to find a company willing to participate in the study where they installed on the employee computers task task switching software. They found that the average switch was every 40 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
So the takeaway there is that the average executive / knowledge worker on a computer screen is losing concentration every 40 seconds. Then there was a different study that came out, I think it was University of California, Irvine, that it takes on average 23 minutes to come back to a focused state and return to the original task. And I think somewhere in between there, people were interrupted 2 to 3 times. So you're actually getting pulled off in this chain before you actually get back. So if you're better than average and you added up all of your distraction times, you could actually take a 2-month vacation every year and still get the same amount of work done. So people who come to me, one of my favorite client success stories, I'll call him Tony because I work with my clients on a confidential basis. When he came to me, he was working from home 1 day a week. And he said that honestly, pretty much every afternoon chunk from lunchtime till the end of the day, he spent watching YouTube videos because he was so distracted he couldn't focus. He had plenty of work to do. It wasn't that there was nothing to do. There was plenty. And after 2 weeks of working with me and using faithfully the music protocols, he found that those videos that had previously so engrossed him were not even attractive anymore. He started putting together an internal white paper that focused on a project he was working on. He identified some major problems that needed to be fixed before the project would actually make any kind of real progress. He had already written 4,000 words on this paper and wasn't done yet. And 1,500 of those were done in a single sitting session. So he was thrilled with his ability to just work. And he found great satisfaction in that because people often feel valued for the contributions that they make. People want to be contributors. They want to feel like what they do matters. And he realized how he could provide a real direction and guidance for his team in this regard. And that was as a result of being able to concentrate in a more intense manner.
And there's that, sense, like you said, sense of contribution, sense of progress, sense of meaning and purpose, like all that's tied into your ability to be effective. And if you're an entrepreneur, I mean, time literally is money, right? Like if you're losing 2 months a year to productivity, you're losing whatever percentage that is, 15% or something, or I guess more than that, even 20% of your year to just lost time, basically, just time that you can't even account for, time that was sort of meaningless, that you could have, at least if you had chosen to not use that time at work, you could have been doing something you enjoyed more or spending time with your family. So this isn't like time that people are intentionally choosing to lose. It's just lost in the noise of a lack of concentration, a lack of focus, a lack of productivity. I think everyone, including me, who's listening to this can relate to that, right? And even those studies that you cited, I'm sure they weren't this year, so they didn't even account for TikTok, Slack, shorts, every notification in the world, popping in and all the distractions that come. And I used to think, hey, I worked in an office. I was like, man, if these people would leave me alone, I could get some work done, right? Because I felt the distractions then were people opening my door and asking me questions. Well, now I think we work from home and we think, well, I don't have all those distractions. I'm here most of the time by myself in my home office. But I'm self-distracting, right? Because this is something in my head that like doesn't allow me to focus. And that's really what you're addressing, right? You're helping people's brains work better, like at a neurological level. Am I overstating that?
No, you are not overstating that at all. And the way that I like to explain it is if you think about an open field of grass that is not very trodden, and you decide to start wearing a path in that, and you're constantly going over the same place back and forth. Well, what happens? It becomes easier to traverse the path because it is worn. It's the same way with our neural pathways. So when we're brain training for a particular functioning, and those neurons keep getting strengthened, the neural pathways are constantly stimulated in the right ways, repeatedly in a very disciplined manner, they become stronger, they start to work better. So our thought processes actually speed up. We start making connections, right? That's what the creativity piece comes in that maybe we hadn't noticed before. And so concentration, I like to call it the tip of the Montessori iceberg, because there are all these other wonderful things that follow from that. But because that's the most foundational piece, that's what I typically address with first when I'm working with clients.
Okay. So concentration is sort of like the first principle. You got to fix that before you can open up even deeper rewards for
Correct.
addressing this and going down this path.
Yes.
And it's, I think of it too, it's like a sort of the infinite gift. Like if you could get an hour a day back of just effective thinking time or an effective concentration time, like what would that unlock for your business or your effectiveness as a leader, as a parent, as a spouse? Like it literally transcends into all parts of life because you take your brain everywhere, right? So if you can improve the function of your brain, it's going to improve all aspects of life.